Imagine being so broke that you can barely afford a meal, and then suddenly, you marry a 71-year-old millionaire woman who promises to change your life forever. Sounds crazy, right? But what happened to this poor student just 7 days after the wedding will leave you completely speechless. Stick with me until the very end, because you won't believe what he discovered. And before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Gentle Words, because stories like this will truly touch your heart and change the way you see life. The story begins with Daniel, a 22-year-old university student whose shoes were so worn that the soles almost kissed the hot pavement every time he walked to class. A young man with a backpack filled more with overdue bills than with books, who worked part-time jobs that barely scraped enough to pay for rent in a tiny shared apartment where the ceiling leaked when it rained, and whose dreams of becoming an architect were fading beneath the crushing weight of poverty and exhaustion. Yet he still carried in his chest a fire of ambition and hope, a belief that maybe one day he could design something meaningful, something that would carry his name beyond the cold statistics of hardship. But fate has strange ways of testing people, and for Daniel, fate came disguised in the form of an unexpected encounter with Margaret, a 71-year-old widow who was known across the city as a millionaire philanthropist, a woman with a reputation for elegance, mystery, and a fortune built by her late husband in the world of finance. And though her hair had turned silver and her face showed the beautiful marks of time, her spirit was sharp, commanding, and strangely youthful. The kind of presence that made everyone stop and pay attention when she walked into a room. Their meeting wasn't in some fairy tale ballroom or a staged romantic dinner, but rather in the university library, where Margaret had come to donate a rare collection of books to support young students, and there, Daniel, desperate for extra hours of work, had been assigned to help carry and organize the donation. His hands trembling not just from the weight of the books but from the hunger gnawing inside his stomach after skipping meals to save money. Margaret noticed him, not in the casual way rich people sometimes glance at the poor, but in a way that seemed to pierce right through his soul, as if she could read every struggle written on his weary face, and instead of turning away she asked his name, his story, and she listened, not with pity, but with a curious fascination, as though she saw in him something even he had forgotten to see in himself. And so began a connection that no one could have predicted. Daniel never imagined that the decision to say yes to Margaret's unexpected marriage proposal would drag him into a whirlwind of emotions, doubts, and revelations that he could never have foreseen. In the first days after their quiet, almost secret wedding, he walked through life in a daze, half convinced that everything was a dream he would soon wake up from, because here he was, a poor student who had never owned more than 2 pairs of shoes, now living in a mansion with marble floors that echoed under his footsteps, eating meals prepared by private chefs who served food on golden, rimmed plates, and being chauffeured to his classes in cars he had only ever seen in magazines. People whispered when they saw them together, some with disbelief, some with envy, some with scorn, calling him a gold digger, calling her delusional, but Margaret ignored them, and for Daniel, though his pride ached from their words, he found a strange comfort in her calm strength. The way she would hold his hand firmly in public, as if daring the world to judge her choices, as if to say that love, whatever form it took, belonged only to the two who lived it. Yet, beneath the luxury and comfort, Daniel wrestled with confusion, because he did not yet understand what Margaret truly wanted from him, whether it was companionship, youth, someone to listen, or simply a human presence to fill the silence of her vast mansion. And though she treated him with kindness, with generosity, with patience, there was something she kept locked away in her gaze, a shadow behind her smile that made him wonder if beneath the surface of her wealth, there lay a pain far deeper than his own poverty. On the 4th night of their marriage, Daniel wandered through the mansion, unable to sleep, overwhelmed by the weight of his new reality, and as he passed through the silent corridors, he stumbled upon a room he had never seen before. Its door left slightly ajar, and when he peeked inside, he saw Margaret sitting by the fireplace, staring at an old photograph in her hands. She didn't notice him at first, her shoulders trembling ever so slightly as though she was holding back tears, and when she finally looked up, Daniel felt something shift inside him. This wasn't the untouchable millionaire. This wasn't the confident woman who carried herself with elegance before the world. This was simply a human being, fragile, grieving, lonely, and for the first time he understood that their marriage wasn't built on riches or appearances. It was built on a desperate need, hers for connection, his for survival. Two broken pieces finding shelter in each other. She smiled weakly and motioned for him to sit beside her, and for hours she told him stories of her late husband, of the empire they had built together, of the nights they spent dreaming of a family they never had, of the loneliness that haunted her mansion even when filled with guests. And as Daniel listened, something inside him softened, a seed of genuine care that went beyond money, beyond pity, beyond his own struggles.